Hey Larry, thanks so much for ordering this reading with me and participating in Summer Sale 18. We're going to be doing your North and South Node reading today. With the North and South Node reading, I look at the nodes and interpret them, firstly, looking at modern astrology. Secondly, I'll do a more Vedic perspective of Rahu and Ketu, the North and South Node respectively. And then I'll do a more personal interpretation of your North and South Node. We are going to look at the fact that they're in between Leo and Aquarius, 12 degrees, 6th house, 12th house. And I will take into consideration other things that are going on in your chart rulers, house rulers, other planets and their aspects, things of that nature. So let's jump right in. Now, with the interpretation of the North and South Node utilizing modern astrology, there's more of an eye focused on the development of oneself. From like a youth all the way from like toddler all the way up to like emerging adulthood, old age. From this point of view, the South Node would be settled in early childhood, toddlerhood, and then that transition, and then opposing would be the North Node in old age, in late adulthood. So there's supposed to be a transition from the South Node to the North Node within that scale, from early childhood to later adulthood. Now, I do understand it to be more of a maturity thing. What you get out of your North Node is found in later years, but you can access your North Node with maturity kind of anywhere in your life. But what is to come of your South Node, most likely found, most potent in early childhood, and what is to be found in your North Node is most potent, most obviously found in later adulthood. So I just want to settle that so you can understand what perspective I'm moving with when I'm talking modern astrology. As a youth and in moments of immaturity, you may have and may even still survive by putting your head down and just doing what you got to do and staying out of the limelight, staying away from too much chaos, and just focusing on what you have to do. Put your head down, get your job done, and get out. And that's not a bad way to do things. It's a good start. It's the natural course for you with Aquarius being your South Node. To have the world be chaos, have environments be chaos, have people be chaos and unfair and unpredictable, but you, taking control of yourself. You are your own order, your own justice, your own calm. And in your control and discipline over yourself is what helps you survive. Now with maturity, maybe specifically as you age, you'll find that you actually find more enjoyment and gain more in life by engaging, picking your head up, saying something, throwing your hat into the ring. Your ability to test your skills, choose your battles wisely, and show and prove that you can be an influence in this world is your North Node. That's the life and that the node is moving you towards. That's the mentality of the mature version of you. To be able to put on display what it is that you work for, put on display what it is that you were born with. What do you have to offer? How can you show that you can change what's going on around you? Yes, this world may be chaos, but you have order to bring, and you can show that you have order to bring. Yes, this life and this world and this society is unfair, but you have a means of justice, and you can show how that means of justice can change things. Having a point, not only just having your ideals and how you survive, but learning to thrive through sharing what it is that you found on your own. How is it that you found your own self-discipline? How is it that you found your own justice, found your own calm, found your own focus in this chaotic, messy world? Maturity means start showing us how you did it. Start teaching us how to do it. And fighting hard for it and being loud about it and being spectacular while doing it. Because you know, in youth, in immaturity, that it works. It worked for you. You survived doing it. We can too. We just need you to be the light, the beacon. And then yeah, that's a quick interpretation of modern astrology, what that north-south node story can look like. So now we can move on to Vedic, and start looking at how Vedic interprets Rahu and Ketu. Rahu being the north node, Ketu being the south node. From their perspective, the north and south nodes have little to do with us in particular. It has nothing to do with what age you are, has nothing to do with how mature you are. It has everything to do with your soul progression. We are not our souls. Our souls are trapped within us. We have consciousness, but our souls are something above and below this plane of existence, above and below our own sense of consciousness. And they will pull us in whatever directions they see fit. The south node is where your soul came in. The north node is how your soul will get out. You are along for the ride. So your soul was able to come into this plane of existence, incarnate as you, through the wisdom of exercising agency. And doing so via discipline of the self, discipline of the mind. So now it's time for your soul to reach for new wisdom by exercising agency still, because it's still on one axis. So it's all about exercising agency. But this time, it needs to develop wisdom through discipline of the self and discipline of the ego. This becomes a much easier ride for you when you engage and test your talents. Your soul will keep pulling you in directions that test your ego, test your discipline of your ego. And what that means is that you will have to put your talents on display. You will have to prove yourself. But if you learn to succeed, you must not forget that this is not all about you. It was all about you back when your soul was learning to discipline the self, discipline the mind. But now it's about the ego. This is not about what you think. This is not about what you feel. That's not the end result. That's not the point. The fruits of your talent, the fruits of your skill, of your determination, shows the might in you. It shows the force that you have over others. The wisdom of the ego is that everything you do is for others. The ego only becomes an issue when you're doing something to get a reaction and then you forget that it's about them. How you feel after you get your reaction is not the point. The point is that you want them to react. You want them to feel and think and experience. The reaction is just what happens when you focus on the point. Getting others to feel and experience and react and do and change and activate. Getting others to activate. That's the force. That's the power of an ego. Now, it's not necessarily your goal. It's not necessarily what you're here to do, to experience that and to really focus on that, to focus on that point. But your soul is. So for you to be along for the ride and to feel like you're going in the right direction and to make this ride as smooth as possible, take from that. Take your talents, utilize them, make your talents, make how you feel, make what you think, make what you do about others, and have that be mixed in with what you like and what you don't like. Have that be mixed in with what you want to achieve and what you don't want to achieve. Have that point be the underlying foundation for what you really want to do. Because then that means your foundation will never go away. You'll always be stable. Because that foundation is just your soul's purpose, not necessarily your purpose. If that makes sense. That's more of a Vedic idea, separating you from the self and understanding what's going on with your soul and what's going on with you, like what's going on with your higher self and what's going on with the self, and how their distance can create a good amount of, like, I forget the word, but You know what I mean? It's very good for perspective. It creates very good perspective. So now let's move on to my interpretation. It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of modern. It's a little bit of Vedic. It's a lot of me. And we can talk about that. We can move on to your north and south node from what I see. Now, what I see is that there's a lot to be gained from you understanding and respecting the idea of staying in your own lane and hunkering down and preparing yourself for the storms that come from living within a community, living within a society, working with a team, working within an organization, just living a life as a human being. There's a lot to be gained from just staying in your lane, doing what you got to do, and preparing yourself for the chaos that can ensue when you put a bunch of people in one room, or when you put just people next to each other. There's a lot more to be gained for you in particular from being able to jump out of your lane and intercept and intersect with other people's lanes, to engage and maybe become a part of the storm, make a little storm of your own, and not preparing for the weather, not just watching the weather, not just being someone who can wear and have the willpower to make it through bad weather, but, you know, maybe be a conduit of your own storms, of your own weather. You know what I mean? Take that power. And see what happens when other people need to prepare for your storm. When other people need to be able to understand what their lane is when you're involved. Saying, how am I going to survive with Larry there? You know what I mean? How can I thrive when Larry's around? Giving them the opportunity to change and react to you. And maybe it'll be great for them. Maybe they'll love it. Maybe they'll praise you for it and follow you and pay you. Maybe they won't. And maybe they'll run from you. Maybe they'll hunker down and try to survive you. It's going to be a little bit of both. Maybe a lot more of one, maybe a lot more of other. That just means you're going to have to take that into account and maybe decide what you would rather them do. And think to yourself, maybe I'd want them to be happy. Maybe I want them to applaud, not for me, but to show that they're happy. I want them to show that they're gratified and they feel like they're thriving when I'm around. So maybe I want to change the way I'm influencing them. Taking a hold of that, building a healthy ego. Life will drag you kicking and screaming to a life out loud. A life where all your experiences and all your creativity touches everyone that comes in contact with you. Now, with this new dimension of the ego, introducing the idea of a healthy ego, we can see that the ego itself is kind of elusive. It's kind of hard to pin down, kind of hard to define. Maybe I did a good job of it, maybe I didn't. But I think when it comes to your north and south node, I think what they're telling you between them, and that is that it's time for you to start emulating that ego. Start emulating the good and the bad and the healthy and the unhealthy. Experience what it means and what it does so you can start to discipline it. Discipline yourself through it. And pull yourself in a direction where you have the most personal power and agency that you can. Where you can be just as happy as all the people around you by being around you. If that makes sense. So hopefully you enjoyed this reading. Hopefully my analogies weren't too off the mark. Hopefully it made sense. I want to thank you again for participating in Summer Sale 18. I'm going to start editing this, getting it to you as soon as I can. And yeah, thanks. I'll see you around.